most Americans will never hear about. No cameras, no press conference, just central bankers from countries that collectively represent half the world's population, quietly designing a financial system that doesn't need the US dollar. And if they succeed, the currency in your wallet might not buy what it used to. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's already happening. Let's start with something simple. When Brazil sells soybeans to China, they don't actually trade soybeans for yuan. They trade soybeans for dollars first, then China converts those dollars to yuan. Same story if India buys oil from Russia or South Africa sells platinum to Indonesia. Every transaction, no matter where it happens, flows through the dollar. Not because it's the best currency, because for the past 80 years, it's been the only option that worked. This system has a name. It's called dollar hegemony, and it's given the United States a privilege no other country has. We can print money to pay our debts, and the world has to accept it because they need dollars to do business with each other. It's like owning the only casino in town and also controlling the chips. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2023, something shifted. For the first time in decades, the dollar's share of global reserves dropped below 59%. That might not sound dramatic until you realize it's been above 70% for most of your life. And the countries moving away from the dollar aren't random. They're Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS, 5 countries that don't agree on much except one thing. They're tired of playing by America's rules. So what changed? Why now? 2 things. First, sanctions. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the US and Europe froze $300 billion of Russian reserves overnight, just locked them out of the system. It was effective, it was justified by most of the West, but it also sent a message to every other country watching. If you're holding dollars, you're holding leverage that can be taken away the moment Washington decides you're a problem. China noticed. So did Saudi Arabia. So did India, Russia, India, Brazil, the UAE, and about 40 other countries that suddenly realized their savings were only safe if they stayed on America's good side forever. The second thing that changed was China built an alternative. It's called CIPS, the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. Think of it as China's version of SWIFT, the network that moves dollars around the world. Except CIPS moves yuan, and it's been growing quietly for a decade. In 2023, it processed over 97 trillion yuan in transactions. That's about $13 trillion. Still a fraction of what SWIFT handles, but it's real infrastructure, and it works. Now here's where the story gets uncomfortable. The dollar's dominance was never guaranteed by economics. It was guaranteed by leverage. After World War II, the US made a deal with Saudi Arabia. We'll protect you militarily, and in exchange, you sell oil only in dollars. That deal, repeated with nearly every oil-producing nation, created artificial demand for dollars. Even if you're Japan buying oil from Kuwait, you need dollars to do it, so every country stockpiled them. That demand let the US run deficits that would collapse any other economy. But that deal is unraveling. In 2023, Saudi Arabia started accepting yuan for oil sales to China. It was quiet, no grand announcement, but it happened. The same year, Brazil and China agreed to settle trade in their own currencies. Then India and Russia did the same. These aren't symbolic gestures. Last year, China and Brazil conducted over $150 billion in trade, and less than half of it used dollars. You might be thinking, okay, but the dollar is still dominant, right? 59% of reserves, most international debt priced in dollars, the biggest financial markets in the world. How much does this really matter? Here's the math that should bother you. The US federal debt is now $36 trillion. We pay about $1 trillion in interest every year just to service that debt. We can afford that because the world needs dollars, so they keep buying our treasury bonds at low rates. It's a feedback loop. They need dollars for trade, so they buy our debt, which keeps our borrowing costs low, which lets us keep spending. But what happens when they don't need as many dollars? Interest rates go up. They have to, because if the world is buying fewer treasury bonds, we have to offer better returns to attract buyers. Higher rates mean higher debt payments, which means less money for everything else.
more we've relied on dollar dominance, the more fragile we've become. Now let's talk about what BRICS is actually building, because it's weirder than you'd think. They're not trying to create a single currency to replace the dollar. That would be impossible. Russia and India don't trust each other enough to share a currency. China's not giving up control of the yuan. What they're doing instead is building a network of bilateral agreements, country to country, currency to currency. Brazil trades with China in yuan and reais. India trades with Russia in rupees and rubles. No dollars necessary. At the same time, they're experimenting with a BRICS-backed digital currency for settlement, not for everyday transactions, just for balancing trade between member countries. The idea is simple. Instead of converting everything to dollars as a middleman, they create a neutral digital unit that exists only to settle the difference. You sell me oil, I sell you machinery. We use the digital unit to balance the ledger. No dollars involved. It sounds technical and boring, but it's quietly revolutionary. There's almost absurd about watching this unfold, because the US isn't losing dominance because of some master plan. We're losing it because we assumed it would last forever. We weaponized the dollar with sanctions, we printed trillions without worrying about long-term trust, and we let our infrastructure and education systems decay while assuming financial engineering would keep us on top. Meanwhile, China spent the last 20 years building ports, railways, and payment systems in 70 countries. They weren't louder about it, they were just more patient. But here's the irony. BRICS isn't winning because they're better. They're winning because the system they're building doesn't require trust. It just requires participation. You don't have to like China to trade them in yuan. You don't have to trust Russia to settle oil payments in rubles. You just have to want an option that isn't controlled by Washington. That's the real shift. It's not that the world hates the dollar, it's that they've realized dependence on any single currency is a vulnerability. So what happens if this keeps accelerating? If by 2030, 40% of global trade bypasses the dollar instead of 20%? First, inflation gets harder to control. Right now, when we print money, a lot of it gets absorbed globally because of dollar demand. If that demand shrinks, more of that money stays in the US economy, chasing the same goods. Prices go up, the Fed has to raise rates even higher to control it, which slows growth, which makes our debt problem worse. Second, our geopolitical leverage weakens. Sanctions only work if countries need access to the dollar system. If China, Russia, Iran, and half of the global south are trading outside that system, threatening to cut them off means nothing. Third, and this is the part nobody wants to say out loud, we might actually have to balance our budget, not because of political will, but because the world stops lending to us at cheap rates. And if you think American politics are divisive now, wait until we have to choose what to cut. None of this happens overnight. The dollar won't collapse in 2026, but the slow erosion, that's already happening. And the uncomfortable truth is that most Americans won't notice until it's too late, until the purchasing power drops, until the interest on a mortgage costs twice what it used to, until we realize we've been living on borrowed time, and the bill just came due. The question isn't whether BRICS will replace the dollar, it's whether the dollar can survive in a world where it's just one option